The acid test in the testing society. What is the relationship between intelligence, as measured by the so-called intelligence and related tests, and success in life? In a landmark article published more than a quarter century ago, Professor David C. McClelland of Harvard challenged the validity of standardized intelligence tests and related aptitude tests. See David C. McClelland. Testing for competence rather than for intelligence. American Psychologist, January 1973, pp. 1-4. Validity has many definitions, but the acid test of a measure is how well it predicts certain a priori defined behavior. According to McClelland, traditional measures of intelligence do not account for a substantial portion of the variation in achievement and success in life. However, he maintains that intelligence tests and their close relatives, aptitude tests, are highly correlated with grades in school and college. The reason is that these tests are loaded with certain types of questions, problems to be solved, analogies to be made, and readings to be comprehended, the same kind of topics, assignments, and questions, given in course assignments and exams. So here is the logic, or lack of it, that fans of intelligence and aptitude tests propose to us. The tests predict performance in school, and performance in school predicts success in life. Sorry, fans of intelligence testing. Most people involved in research on this subject will agree that results on intelligence tests and grades earned in school are significantly correlated. My own surveys of the affluent confirm this. But do the tests predict anything other than performance in an academic environment? So what about grades? How valid are they as predictors? Researchers have in fact had great difficulty demonstrating that grades in school are related to any other behaviors of importance, other than doing well on aptitude tests. McClelland, P1. But the popular myth continues. It just seems so logical. The A. Students are supposed to succeed big time. The students are predicted, by definition, to do above average in life. And those who receive CS, DS, and FS are predicted to do not as well as their classmates who are on the honor roll and dean's list. What a perfect world it would be if one could predict the variations in success from grades on transcripts. If this were the case, you could say, with great certainty to your son or daughter who just graduated with a straight A average, Buffy, Skippy, you will do well for your entire lifetimes, the next 55 years. But what about your other son or daughter, who just barely made the minimum grades to graduate? You'll have to tell your child, you will have 55 years of just barely making it. Life is a marathon. How well you do in this race involves much more than grade point averages, and upsets often occur. Standardized testing cannot be substituted for actually running the race. Otherwise, our government could just redistribute our nation's wealth each year, give it all to those with high IQs, if they're going to end up with it all. Anyway, why not just speed up the process? Well, how about giving our youth a chance? Let them play life's game. Don't tell them just before it starts. The game's over. You lose. You can never win. You won't succeed with those grades, those SATs. The general public and many psychologists and college officers simply have been unable to believe or accept the fact that high test scores predict only performance in school and don't predict success in other behaviors and outcomes. See McClelland, P2. Why is our society so concerned with testing intelligence? We place great emphasis on achievement, and we want to know even beforehand who will achieve tomorrow in the real world of work. We want to give awards to achievers even before they achieve. We are the a priori, the presumptive society. In spite of this, some students never allow such academically oriented predictions to influence them. A disproportionately large percentage of multimillionaires fit into this category. Those who did well in school and on so-called intelligence tests never assumed for a moment that success was predetermined. What about those multimillionaires who were not A students and who didn't generate high numbers on achievement tests? They never allowed the academic oddsmakers to dictate their performance in life. They recognized that creativity, hard work, discipline, and certain social skills including leadership, were more significant than grades and aptitude test results. These are the people who confound their teachers and other fans of aptitude and intelligence. Testing. It seems so self-evident to educators that those who do well in their classes must go on to do better in life that they systematically have disregarded evidence to the contrary that has been accumulating for some time. McClelland, P2. This is not to discount the importance of an education in explaining economic success. According to McClelland, a college degree is a credential that opens doors to higher paying positions. However, he found that students with lower grade point averages in college eventually did as well economically in life as the top students. The results of my research on millionaires are highly congruent with Professor McClelland's. Grades received in college do not explain a statistically significant portion of the variation in wealth or income, nor do SAT results. The only noticeable exception were those respondents who attended medical school or law school. They were required to have superior grades in college and high scores on aptitude tests to be admitted to these professional schools. However, most are not in the decamillionaire category today. Usually, they have net worth levels in the $1 million to $5 million range. So who are the decamillionaires in America? They are successful entrepreneurs. Most of these people were not as students, and most were not predicted to become major economic successes based on their test scores. Another problem related to scoring high on SATs and other standardized tests is that sometimes people allow their performance to dictate their choice of study and ultimately their choice of vocation. For example, take Dr. R.A., the math whiz. She scored very high on the math portion of the SAT, so well that top technical universities expressed great interest in her. She was offered several scholarships if only she would major in computer science, engineering, or mathematics. But Dr. R.A. has more than high SATs and analytical intelligence. She also has a lot of creativity and common sense, and she is a people person. She is very gregarious and has many friends. So what if she scored a 5, top score, on the Calculus Advanced Placement Test? Should math and engineering be her only choices? Dr. R.A. wants to be around people and study them. Numbers bore her unless they relate to human behavior. So Dr. R.A. majored in psychology. Her main interest is in psychological measurement. She loves the program she recently completed and loves her career. If Dr. R.A. had listened to the guidance counselor who told her she should major in math, science, or engineering, Dr. R.A. would have been unhappy in those programs. The counselor just looked at her math scores and didn't give any weight to other factors. My data clearly show a strong negative correlation between job satisfaction and those strong mandates about career choice that come from parents and counselors because of test scores. Follow Dr. R.A.'s lead. Have the strength and the resolve to fight for what you want and need. Do not allow others to tell you what is supposed to make you happy. If you have a high level of intelligence as predicted by IQ test scores, you have great capacity or potential. But if it's not used in ways that fulfill you psychologically, it's not likely that you will become a total success. Total success usually requires that you enjoy your vocation. Professor Sternberg says it best. Nevertheless, between 75% and 96% of the variance in real-world criteria, such as job performance, cannot be accounted for by individual differences in intelligence test scores. Robert J. Sternberg, et al., Testing Common Sense, American Psychologist. November 1995, p. 923. As for economic success, the logic is simple. If you perform well in your chosen vocation, you are likely to earn more than others, especially if you are self-employed. If you earn more, you have a great chance of accumulating wealth. This is especially true if you have the common sense to save and invest more than you spend. Investing. P. Public or P. Private. There is a lot of talk about the stock market successes that many investors have enjoyed lately. Is it the stock market that produces most of the first-generation millionaires in America? If you read the business and investing periodicals lately, you'd probably answer yes. But I have a different view about the creation of wealth, based on the data I've collected from Millionaires for more than 25 years. Examine the data presented in Table 2 to 6. Only about 1 in 8 Millionaires, 12%, indicated that investing in the equities of public corporations was a very important factor in explaining their economic success. 3 in 10, 30%, rated this factor as important. Does this mean that most millionaires do not invest in stocks? Not at all. They just tend to be more realistic about the stock market than many other investors. They seem to view it as one of many places to invest their money. A significantly higher percentage of millionaires, 35%, rated making wise investments as a very important factor in explaining their economic success, as opposed to the 12% who gave the same rating to investing in the equities of public corporations. Millionaires make wise investments, but not all wise investments are listed on the stock exchanges. Most millionaires will tell you that investing in the stock market is not the only game in town. A significantly larger percentage rate as very important. Investing in my own business, 26%, being my own boss, 29%, and willing to take financial risk given the right return, 29%. As expected, most business owners and entrepreneurs are especially sensitive to the importance of investing in their own businesses. 87% of these millionaires rated investing in my own business as either very important, 50%, or important, 37%. In sharp contrast, only 12% of these business owners rate investing in the equities of public corporations as very important. 28% rated it as important. Table 2 to 6. Millionaires' success factors. Stock market investing versus one's own business. N equals 733. Why so much love for investing in one's own business, and so little credit given to the stock market? The typical respondent in this survey had an annual realized income in excess of $600,000. Almost all of this income derives from their main vocation as business owners, corporate executives, attorneys, physicians, and so forth. I often quote a multimillionaire I interviewed years ago who summed it all up by saying, "My source of wealth, my business. Any economically successful man doesn't gamble. I don't gamble. I work too hard for what we got. Once you do that, you're not about to throw it away." This fellow does not invest in high-risk offerings, and he is realistic about the risks involved in investing in other people's corporations. Most millionaires do invest in quality stocks, but they don't intend to make a fortune by doing so. They don't believe that ups in the stock market, after netting out fees and taxes and downturns, can outpace the returns they get from their own business or as being a partner in a productive law firm or medical practice. Note that a component of the one's own business domain is living below my means. The self-designated wise investors, risk-takers, and those who invest in their own businesses have this in common: they are significantly more likely to live below their means. Although frugality and living below one's means is not a top factor in explaining economic success for the entire population in my survey, the most ardent investors, the financial risk-takers, are relatively more frugal than other millionaires surveyed. They know they can invest more if they are frugal and spend less on consumer items.